Okay, this tutorial is going to show you how to fade an image in. This can be a graphic, it can be a picture, it can be pretty much anything you want it to be. And we see this primarily in business websites or websites that have content that loads sporadically. Sometimes it's got a professional look to it, and what we want to do is really show you how to do that. It's a pretty simple procedure, and we're going to make short work of it in a sense. Remember, in this case, the more boxes you add, the more work you make for yourself. So having said that, the idea isn't to have this image come up really fast or really slow. It's what looks good. So what I have here on the screen is I've got a guitar player, futuristic guitar player. I got this image from my son and he really likes it. It's on my first layer. I've locked that down, and then I have a box layer and an actions layer. I always put my actions on top. As you know, if you've been watching my video tutorials, you'll know that I always set my actions on top, because that way the actions are always in the same location, the very top. So if we have any issues, we know right off where to look if we're having problems with our action layer. Okay, so I want to come in now and I'm going to construct a box, and this box we're going to place over the entire picture, and we're going to fade it out and uncover the picture using a fade, or using an action tween, or I mean a motion tween. And so what I'm going to do is I've grabbed the box. I want to make sure I don't have a stroke on it. I've got my grid layers selected here, and I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to select that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to convert it to a symbol. Let's make it a graphic, and I'm just going to call it box. I'll just call this box. Hit OK. I'm not worried about time sharing. I don't know what's going on here. Let's do this again. Oops. Click off, click this again, modify, convert to symbol. Let's make it a graphic, and we'll call it a box. Let's call it box graphic. Hit OK. So there it is. Don't know what happened there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide this box over, and you'll notice that it lines up, because I have my snap on, it lines up automatically in the corners so that I don't have to worry about it lining up correctly. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit copy V, Control V, and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to line it back up here. I'm going to hit Control V again, grab it, line it up there, and hit Control V again and line it up there. Now they're a little big, so if I want, I can grab all of them and kind of move them over. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them again, hit copy, Control V, so now I have a complete section. And I'm going to hit Control V one more time, grab these and drop them down. Let's line them up. Not quite big enough, and I sure as heck do not want to have to. Yeah, I don't want to have to make another set of boxes. So I think I'm going to take these and just come in here, grab these, make them a little bit bigger. Good. So now what we have are all our boxes, and notice I put them on the action layer, so I'm going to cut those, go back to my box layer, hit edit, paste in place, and so now all the boxes are pasted in place. Now they look a little off, but that's okay, because if I come over here, let's look. As long as they're covering everything, that's okay, because these boxes are a little bigger than they really need to be. So it's not, if we were really working very tightly so that each box was the exact size, we could do that. We could set up a grid, we could figure out how big our image is, go through, yada, 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 and do all that. But in this case, since the boxes are bigger than the original image, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But again, you know, if you want to be precise, you can go measure your image or make your image a certain size, make the boxes, divide it, how many boxes, rows, and columns you want, and set it up that way. But in this case, I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so I've selected all the images. Now, because I can't have multiple motion tweening on one layer, I'm going to have to distribute these boxes to multiple layers. So each box is going to have to be on its own layer. So if I hit Control Shift D, if you've seen any of the tutorials before this, you're probably aware that Control-Shift-D distributes all of these to layers. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-D, and notice now that what I have are all the box layers. All these boxes right here are on their own layers. Saves me time, money, energy. I don't have to cut and paste. It sets them all up for me, which is awesome, especially if we have multiple items. This is also great if you're doing animation and you've constructed a face and you've got eyebrows, eyelids, eyes, pupils, mouth, lips, teeth, tongue, ears, nose, and they're all moving at the same time. When you construct the face, you can construct it on one layer as long as you remember to make all of them images or graphics. It'll automatically put them on their own layer. Okay, I have the box image, which is empty, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit delete. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take all of these images. Okay, we can't see what's on the screen now, but trust me, they're there. We could have worked in a different color so that we could see all of these, but trust me, we can select all of these boxes by just clicking in here. So the idea now is we're going to randomize this pattern. What that means is I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to select a box, and I'm going to say that I want it to come off, let's say within 5 or 6 frames. So I'm going to right mouse click, insert a keyframe here. Then I'm going to come and give it a second to unload if I want. I'm on image 7, so if I want to go to 15, which is, or 20, we would probably go to 19, which would give us 1 complete second. Okay. Right mouse click, insert keyframe here, and what I'm going to do here is this image is selected. I'm going to select it again, and I'm going to go to color, and I'm going to hit alpha, and my alpha is 0 here. Okay. So what I have now is this and this. Okay. If I right mouse click, create motion tween. So now I need to do the same thing with another random graphic right here. And remember, we're not going to see any of these. We're not going to see our image underneath, which is there, and we're just not going to see them unless we were to turn these off. And remember, that's what we're trying to do here is when we go to set up these images, we're going to actually get to a point where we're starting to unmask it. I don't exactly know where that's going to be, so what I'm going to do right here is let's do this so you don't get confused. I'm going to insert a frame here. So what we have is this. So if I come here and I notice that I have all of these, notice how that fade starts to fade out right there and gives me the image. So what I'm going to do is slowly go through this and start to set up my images. I'm going to go ahead and click this frame here, and I'm just going to come to maybe 2 frames over, 2 or 3 frames over. I'm going to insert keyframe, then I'm going to come over and go 2 more frames this way, insert keyframe, and in this frame, here we are, I'm going to change the alpha and go to 0 there, and then I'm going to right mouse click, create motion tween. So what I have now are some frames that are starting to starting to fade away. Okay, so this is the process. I want you to go through and set all these up. What we're going to do, let me go and do a couple more frames for you. I'm going to grab 2 more this way. I'm going to right mouse click, insert keyframe, 2 more this way, insert keyframe. I'm going to grab this one, click on it, go down here to alpha, make sure that it's 0, right mouse click in here, create motion tween. So I want you to basically go in and just kind of start to do this with all your keyframes. And then if we have to go in and make any adjustments to the original box, we can do that. But I want you to think about how you're laying this out, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and come back when you have all of the squares done. Okay, so as you can see, I've set up all of my boxes to stagger. I went out to about 40. I could do this longer, but let's look at this. As I go through and I start to scrub it, what we see is we start to see this image appear, which is great. It works out really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this back. And again, you can kind of play with this. You can figure out where it is you want it to go. I'm going to go ahead and just grab those, and I'm going to cut the frames. Actually, let's just get rid of this stuff. Alright, so now what I need to do is I need to have my actions layer come all the way out here. So I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. I don't want this to continuously loop and loop and loop and loop, so what I'm going to do is, as you probably know by now, we're going to put a stop action here and terminate it. STOP, open and close parentheses, which is our function, and then we're going to terminate it. And that should appear right there. So now when I go to test this, Control Enter, and here's what my movie starts to look like. Not bad. If I don't like the way it comes in, I can always change that. I'm sure you could think of tons of ways to use this. Again, you know, this is another one of those opportunities. If you wanted to make this a logo that's clickable, then you could put an invisible button over it. You'll see this a lot. Again, you know, I've shown you a million times how to put an invisible button over something, and it's pretty simple, so I'm not going to do that. But this is one of those things where you can use a graphic, you can use a picture, you can black out part of a website, whatever it is that you think will work for your website or for your interactive CD-ROM. This is a different, the use of this is endless. So I want you to go ahead and make sure you save this as image fade. Okay, so when you go to save file as your last name _, image fade, and then be creative. You know, do something different. Do whatever, and make sure though. Let's be honest. When I get to this point, notice I'm going to hit Control Enter. It's all white here. It's important that that box be the same color as your background. So if you're using a black background, you obviously don't want to use white buttons or white boxes over it. If you're using if you have a green background, you don't want to be using purple squares over that. So just think about what the background is and use the same color as you are for your image. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. It was pretty simple. If you have any questions, email me, give me a call, or make an office hour and come by and see me.